hopefully it's been a good day for you so far. Everybody learned a few things, and hopefully it was a very good use of your time. We'll try and do the same in our group. So before we get started, the session, as you read, is sort of us talking to you about what does it take to get an A+ in OnBase. So I thought, what better way to be able to do that than to use the report card. So I'm going to kind of go through and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the different aspects of how to manage an OnBase system. We're going to sort of tie it in at the same time into how we in the customer care team can help you do that and do it real well. So first of all, how many folks in here are system administrator folks that are solely responsible for that? So great, so a lot of this will make sense to you. How many people are sort of just would be a user of the system? Anybody that's, okay, and then of those, how many of you would be maybe considered like your department, like maybe a power user or somebody that others look to for info? Great, so we've got the right crowd here. Let me go ahead and introduce James Lenneschmidt. James is our Chief Technology Officer, also one of the owners of the company. So how long have you been doing OnBase, James?
14 years, I believe.
Okay, so you're qualified to talk about OnBase. I've been with ImageSoft, Rick Wilson, for about 9 years, and I head up the customer care team. I also have with me here Tom Hansel. I don't know if any of you have talked on the phone with Tom, but Tom is a team lead, so a lot of the folks in the customer care team that you're talking to day to day work for Tom, and Tom also gets right on there and talks to folks and still taking calls and handling things as well. So Tom's job is to keep us on track and to keep us sort of safe and answering things properly. So if we get off track, you let us know.
Legal representation.
That's right. So we're here to talk about how to get an A+ in OnBase. So we've all, back in the day somewhere, we got these report cards when we were kids. So hopefully this maybe looks a little bit familiar to you, but I'm not going to talk about how I scored on some of these things, but some of the strange categories they used to rate us on. So, you know, understands and follows the rules. In this case, it might have said knowledge and use of, you know, writing skills or something, but here we're talking about OnBase. Completes work assignments on time, reasons well in solving problems. How about cooperates well with others? That's one I didn't score quite so good on. Assumes responsibility, participates in group work, and is resourceful and independent. So we're going to go through each one of these, and we're going to basically say, what does it look like to get an A+? What are the things that you might do in order to succeed? So as an example, the first one, understands and follows the rules. And I would put that in the category of, so excellent understanding of your organization's processes, rules, and users' job functions. Part of managing a system or working with OnBase is to really know your business. It's not just a technical job. So what I'm going to do is let James talk a little bit about some of the things that go along with this, and maybe you can kind of elaborate a little bit on what that looks like, and I can then talk a little bit about how customer care can help you with that.
So we had the first item, identify the departments and organizational processes your OnBase solution supports. So not only for kind of the business owners, but for the administrators to really have an understanding of that solution, what it means to the end users, so that when there is a request, because a lot of times there's a request for an enhancement or just a request for a support ticket, you understand the impact of them, right? Is this is this something that can wait a day, or is this something that hey, this is a judge in a courtroom and I can't wait a day to get that. So understanding those business processes, how they work, definitely will help you understand where do I need to start looking to see what might be the problem, what might be a solution, or what's the impact to that department because of that issue. This one's key. Observe how end users utilize the OnBase system to perform their jobs and ask questions. So, we've all got trained, right? Once or twice on something, and then maybe we forget a certain aspect of it, especially in the OnBase world. That product is so feature-rich with so many different ways of doing things that we all learned something maybe in training, and when we even learned it, it didn't mean much to us because we just started to use OnBase, and we forgot about that feature. So as kind of the super users and the support team, looking at how end users are using it on a regular basis, looking for opportunities to let them know, hey, did you realize that you don't have to hit page down 38 times to jump to the 38th page? You can just right-click and go to the 38th page. Or looking for areas where, as they've used that system, for years, is there areas of improvement to that business process, right? Maybe their process has changed. I mean, these systems were built based on maybe a paper process of 5 or 6 years ago. Now they've been doing this for 4 or 5 years electronically. Maybe there's even areas of improvement there that end users don't necessarily know, but super users and the system administrators really would understand, hey, if we did X, Y, and Z, we can help you. Identify, key process owners in each department. Obviously, we have a group of them here. That's always key too, because it's kind of helping administer, and helping support that. Knowing who those process owners are to be able to talk to them about it, verify. Because obviously, a user you might look at something and go, oh, if we could do X, Y, and Z, that would be great. But obviously, vetting that through, the key process owner to make sure that really it is as simple as you think, and having that relationship and understanding, their needs definitely will help you.
So this is kind of the technical side of the knowledge that you have about OnBase and combining that with your business process so that you can kind of bring those two things together. So like James said, there's a number of times where you'll see something and to you it makes perfect sense because you have that extra technical knowledge that someone else might not have. And so really getting in and knowing it, having those two sides of things, that's really important. So one of the things that we can do, multiple things from the customer care side of things to help you with that is, we're there. We're not just technical support and how do I fix this particular thing. We're there to help answer questions and to help you kind of make your job easier and be able to provide you the information you need. So there's a lot of different things we're going to talk about in a little bit here in this afternoon of how we can help do that. But for instance, one of the ways is if you had the original system come through, there was a functional specification. Somebody designed the original system. If it would be helpful for you to have an original copy of that, we can do that. Sometimes there's add-ons and things over the years that have changed that, but many times the core set of that, so some of the keywords and the way things are set up, it might be useful for you to have that. Ask. We'll be glad to help you get that. One of the things that we do a lot is to host a transition to support meeting for a new admin. So we're at a point where we've had customers now, first OnBase customers, 2,000?
Yeah,
2,000. So we've got customers now that have had these systems, and believe me, the first system admin that got in there and used and ran is not there anymore. So they've had to bring someone new in. Sometimes that person coming in new is really happy about that. Sometimes they're sort of brought kicking and screaming into it because they just need somebody to do it. And so there's a lot of catch-up to do. So one of the things we are happy to do, and we actually go out of our way when we know that's going to take place, is we'll schedule a meeting and we'll get on the phone and we'll talk with you. What does it take to administer a system? What are you getting yourself in for? And we'll talk through and answer questions and try and help you. So bear that in mind if that's something, even if you're not a new system, maybe you've been doing it a couple of years, but you feel that might be helpful, that same kind of concept, we'd be glad to do that for you. And then something that we call sort of a workflow process review. Maybe the way that you're using the system now, there might be something that you'd like to do a little bit different, or you want to bounce some ideas off of us about how that might look. We're also glad to do that. So if you think of us more than just calling when you're not so happy and something's broke or people are yelling at you, feel free to call us other times too. We're glad to be able to answer questions and talk to you. So knowledge and use of OnBase skills. To get an A+ there is basically one of the best ways you can do that is be a trained, certified system administrator. Highland offers a number of ways to help you get there along with things that we can do for you. So James, maybe kind of walk through a few of what those things are and how you get there.
Definitely. So obviously the first and one that's probably familiar to most of you is, you can actually become a certified OnBase system administrator. There are a couple different levels that includes not only system administration, but that actually even extends into workflow development, workflow administration, things like that. So can't harp on that enough. Leverage that, become certified. It will help you definitely understand the aspects of the OnBase system that you have to support. If you take your car to a certified mechanic, you should take your OnBase system to a certified administrator. Become an active partner on the community sites. Community sites came out a couple years ago, Highland Community and www.highland.com/community.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I've got the link at the end here even, so yeah.
If you don't already have an account, which most of you do, but definitely get an account, it's a great place to find any information you want about any aspect of OnBase. So every module that you own, there's a site on there where you can download the module reference guides, you can read blog posts from individuals like Colleen, who actually manages or is the product evangelist for a number of those products and others amongst. You can post questions, you can read information, exchange information with other other end users. So definitely leverage there. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of things there that you can read from there. Training.onbase.com. As an OnBase user, you have access to training.onbase.com. There's a lot of web-based training and documentation up there for reading for different types of classes, different things about, did you want to understand about keywords, how they might work, some of the nuances there. There's premium training, which is, you heard about talked about this morning, some additional value, a lot more in-depth training that's exposed to kind of all your users. Attend Tech Quests and OTTCs. So Tech Quests are held 3 times a year at Highland. It's a week-long, high-intensity course on all things OnBase, from API to records management to workflow development to Unity for. So if there's a module, there's a class on it. These are not 30-minute or 45-minute sessions. These are 4-hour or 8-hour classes that really go into configuring and building these solutions. So when you walk out of that Tech Quest session, you have the beginnings of the foundations to build that. And again, we talked about the advanced administrative and advanced workflow.
Do you want to talk about OTTC real quick?
Yes, sorry, missed that.
That's right.
OTT is coming up. It's once a year. That's also a great place to go. I highly encourage the business owners to consider that.
And we are giving away a free pass this afternoon, so in just a little short time you might have a chance at that.
That session, or that what's the
Conference.
word? Conference, thank you, is broken up really into 2. The first part is a little bit more technical, and the second part is 3 days of what I would consider high-level business owner targeted classes. These are 35, 40-hour long classes. Sometimes they get a little technical, but a lot of them are, did you know you could do this, or solutions, similar to what we've offered here in terms of that, more targeted on each of the OnBase modules, so that you can come back and go, you know what, I think we can do this. I know we saw that. It might not be, you might not have the technical know-how after that class, but you know it's doable. Then you can leverage us, community sites, to then actually build and make that.
They also give you a lot of nice little sneak peeks into new things that are coming out and new modules, the next version. So, and it's just a great opportunity like this to be able to spend time with other folks like you and be able to compare notes and learn from each other.
Everything, the modular reference guides of all modular reference guides. System admin. So it's not really tied to a module. This is tied to an OnBase system. This document is a great reference for all things OnBase. It is a good document to learn how to create notes, understand data sets, understand keywords. This document will give you a really good overview of kind of the fundamental aspects, many of which are just standard out-of-the-box features, not additional modules that you would have to add on or install. Just standard features and functionality of that base client. And this is a...
There's a PDF version of this too.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're trying to intimidate them with that, or if you're trying to impress them with the breadth of knowledge that's there.
A little bit about.
Yeah, but it is available online, like you said, through the...
Download it to your Kindle Fire.
Yes, and you can read it on your tablet. So some of the things that James mentioned, we can also help with through the customer care team. So talking to Tom and any of his team. We also have put together our own kind of group of things to help you. So when I talked about welcoming and bringing on new system administrators, so that happens for us on a regular basis, both, from new customers that we would have just completed a project or a new implementation. So they've got people there that we want to welcome in and sort of introduce them to more on the support side and customer care and how we can help them. So we have a welcome kit. You guys, it might be very beneficial even if you've been someone doing this for a long time and working with us. So you might want to check that out. General questions, I can't emphasize enough, please, these guys would love you to just call and say hi sometimes. I mean, not when you're all upset and angry. They're really nice people, and they like that just like you do. When you get somebody coming chasing you after a problem, it's nice just to have somebody say, hey, I just want to talk to you about a few things. So we're always there for that. We could, knowing you and knowing your system and knowing your account, we could also sort of recommend a training curriculum that might be really useful. For instance, James mentioned a lot of different classes, but if there's certain modules you don't use, well, you're going to spend a lot of time wading through that. So let us help you with that. Maybe we can kind of create a little list of classes that would be useful. And then anytime you need something, as great as the Highland sites are, there's a ton of information out there. If you have a hard time navigating it or finding it, and I will tell you, by the way, it is 1,000 and 10,000% better than it was, 6-7 years ago. It's still sometimes intimidating just because there's so much. So let us help you. If you can't find something, give us a call. We'll go even look it up for you, and we'll put it right through. All right. Completes work assignments on time. I also had a problem with that one. I'm not sure why. I'm much better though now, James. Yeah.
I'm not.
Performs regular system monitoring and maintenance. So there's a number of things about care and feeding of an OnBase system. So I'm going to have James run through a few of those things for you, and there's more slides here, so I'll try and keep up with you.
So obviously, like any system, it's got maintenance for car. Change the oil, change the brakes, right? The OnBase system, there's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly type of tasks that you want to do to monitor the health of that system.
And we're going to look at some of those in a little more detail here, but again, we can help you by making sure that you have a copy of this beautiful system administrator guide if you can't find it yourself. We'll work with you even to create sort of a customized plan. Again, what we would call like a health check plan. If you've got certain things you should be doing on a regular basis, maybe you don't even know what those are. James is going to mention a few of them, but we would be glad to help you customize that because there might be certain things that are very important for you. Again, instead of looking at every single log out there, maybe there's certain ones that you really should care about, and we'll help you figure those out. And then we'll explain what to look for when you're reviewing the system, because sometimes you'll look at it, great, I've got all this information, but what does it mean, and is this important? Is that bad when it says this? Maybe it's perfectly normal that something would be there or wouldn't be there at a certain time. So let us help you with that. So here's some daily and weekly tasks.
And so, some of these are in the system admin guide. So a number of these come right from there. This also presentation will be online, so I'll just try to rip through them fairly quick. Check your verification reports or build a workflow to do it for you. It's fairly simple to build a simple workflow that actually emails you when there's a problem. Windows event logs. So for those of you who are actually OnBase administrators who actually have access to the servers that they're on, checking your event log or leveraging any of the third-party products out there from free to $20 or whatever to enterprise-wide, that'll let you know if there's an error or a warning. I mean, these are kind of the idiot lights of your system, right? So if there's a problem, I mean, from an OnBase related problem or just to a server running out of disk space problem, these will give you enough heads up, hopefully, so that you can minimize your impact to your end users who are using your system, because you're able to catch that problem before it has larger impact. So we've got other weekly things, verifying your system. Obviously, as an administrator, you might or might not have ultimate responsibility for the successful backup of that system, but if you are or are playing a role in that, you definitely want to do what you can to ensure that your database, your disk groups are backed up so that in the event of a disaster, you can recover a fully functional system with minimal data loss and downtime.
Should they actually check their dip and cold input?
They should.
Okay.
They should check their folders where, so dip cold means anything to you. It's a way where we exchange information with other systems. We pull that data from those files. You should be looking at those on a regular basis or set up some jobs. We actually have some third-party tools that we can help you with that'll actually notify you if a dip job seems to be hung or a timer doesn't seem to be running as fast as you want, which might be indications of a problem with the server or a networking issue or any other type of things. Again, backups. If you aren't ultimately responsible for the backup, where you can actually see what's being backed up, I talk to your backup team every once in a while. If your backup team has never come to you and said, geez, you keep taking up more space, when are you going to delete things? You've got a problem. Or you've got a huge backup team that's really helpful, because every day you store more data in your OnBase system, and chances are you don't purge that data. So every day, you're adding more and more that your backup team is going to be backing up for you. And if they haven't come and talked to you, you're not aware, and they don't talk to them, you might not be backing everything up, because sooner or later, you will chew up more time and space than they might be willing to give you. And there's ways around that. But reach out to your backup team if you're not ultimately responsible, and ensure that they truly are backing everything up. The system grows step and step every day. It never stays the same size.
So you could run out of database. You could
run
grow.
a database space, you can run disk space, you can run a tape space, or whatever mechanism. Make sure that you're in conjunction with them and that they are truly backing things up.
And what is this about growing in chunks?
So that's a good point. So as your database grows, the database grows in chunks. Right? So it doesn't necessarily grow one record at a time, 5K here, 5K there. The way databases work is they'll grow in large chunks. Depending on the size of your database and type of data, that chunk could be 3 or 4 gigs. So if you ultimately are responsible for the database server and you're like, oh, I got 3.5 gigs, I have plenty of space. You could go from 3.5 gigs this afternoon to 0 tonight, just because it needed a little bit more space, because it grows in large blank chunks for efficiency. So be very cautious of, things as simple as like disk space. Being 3 or 4 gigs, your event logs will have told you you had a problem with space. So there's a number of flags that would have occurred before you even got to that point.
So looking at those things daily, looking at those things weekly,
Right.
the idea is to be ahead of it, not getting that phone call from somebody saying suddenly they can't store documents anymore because you're out of space.
And work with our teams to talk about ways to automate. A number of these things can be automated.
How about monthly?
Work with your database experts, your database, your DBAs, ensure that your database is running efficient. OnBase is a database app. It is a very database-centric app. If that database gets slow, all of your end users will experience performance problems and they won't be happy. So there's a lot of things that a DBA can do to ensure that that doesn't happen. So one of the things we like to see on the monthly is just verify that those maintenance plans run every day, sometimes in the middle of days or multiple times a day. Every month they should be verified that they're still right, they're still running within the time frames that you want. Again, as that database gets bigger, those maintenance plans are going to take longer. You might need to tweak them. We're here to help with that. Again, look at the storage space you're using within the disk groups. You don't want to run out of space. You want to be able to plan for that. So as you're growing again, keep an eye, again, not daily, not weekly, but monthly, what's my growth? How much space am I using? Just so you know when you might need to reach out and say, hey, we're going to run out of space in 6 months. We all know it's hard to get funds for things. Going to them and going, we need 3 more terabytes tomorrow isn't as easy as going and saying we need 3 more terabytes in 6 months. Plus the headache of having to rush it in tomorrow.
You mean they can't just like have it installed the next day and all working?
You can get it, but
okay.
We all know how that works.
Okay. All right. So reasons well in solving problems. That was another skill they were always looking for in us as kids is, how well do we figure things out? So great use of troubleshooting skills and tools using reference documents is a great thing. So getting an A+ there means that you will be able to take a look at a situation and you'll be able to kind of work your way through it. Obviously support's there to help, but you guys are sort of the first line of defense. So how about talking about troubleshooting a little bit, solving problems?
So, it says never assume, and that kind of seems obvious, but I always think of like an issue as kind of like a good mystery, right? Sometimes if you go in with this preconceived idea that the problem has to exist here, you taint your view and ability to correctly solve it and see really. So, you're going to have some ideas and you're going to have some leanings, but try to keep kind of an open mind. It might not be what you think, right? It could be, it could be a network switch, right? So, I'm not saying that it's always a network switch, but being able to kind of step back and take a more of a holistic view of everything can definitely help you. Maintaining the current testing environment. If you can kind of reproduce the problem in a test environment, you get kind of that ability to do everything in an environment that has no impact to your end users, right? So if an end user reports something, if you have a current testing environment that really reflects their system, and you're able to reproduce it, you're able to do that in a way that has no impact to them. You're not breaking anything in their environment. Definitely gives you abilities to then easier provide a fix. Document it as much as you can, kind of those things that you discover, right? Whether you're calling us or you're taking that call, or even for the business owners, it's just a question, that they might get from one of the end users. Try to build that knowledge base yourself. You're going to see these over and over, and some of these might turn into kind of an FAQ for a certain department, or common questions that your own internal support team gets. Will definitely help serve to solve those problems, so that the next person who calls about, hey, how do I get to page 38 really fast? Well, we've done that before. Take a look.
So obviously that's all great stuff and staying in contact and having meetings and things like that, but there's times where trying to have that conversation might even be difficult because they don't speak the same language you speak. So literally there are times where you could be in a conversation and they're throwing out acronyms at you and telling you all the reasons why this or that can't happen. Sometimes you just need somebody to help you translate that. So one of the things that we do regularly and are happy to do for you as well in the customer care team is we can be that translator. Let us sit in with that call or arrange a conference where we can be part of it. And if they're saying something and you're saying something, sometimes you're trying to explain and maybe we've seen it enough times and we know more on the sort of low-end technical, we can say, oh, she means that or he means this and this is how it might work. So be glad to do that for you. Let us help. We can also help recommend things about database maintenance and backup strategies because again, many times, as James said, they've got their own idea of what to back up. They look at their things and they've got their, well, there's some special nuances to OnBase and what you should and shouldn't be backing up and how often you should be. So let us help you describe that to them and why it's important that this would happen. Because, you know, last thing you want is somebody, that thing's huge. I don't have time to get that done overnight. So you don't understand. You don't do that, you're going to lose your system. So let us help you do that. And then just work jointly to resolve problems. Again, we're glad to help be in the middle and help you when you're trying to work with different teams and departments to resolve issues. The next one that we're talking about is assumes responsibility. So taking ownership of the OnBase solution and the systems. This is an area where sometimes you have to work at that, and it's something that you have to think to do because it really is your system. So James, how about you talk a little bit about what does that look like, taking ownership?
Definitely, it's being that first line of support where an end user has an issue, having them first reach out to the internal team. Obviously, you're more familiar with your network, your infrastructure, the other things that might be going on. I mean, you might have a user who says, "I can't print," but isn't aware that there's a bigger printing issue going on. Right? So having them kind of reach out.
Or there's a construction crew in the next room that just is tearing down walls and they cut a cable or something,
So being able to help maybe short circuit an issue with an answer. It might not be an answer that, okay, now print, but it might be an answer that lets them know, yeah, that's something that we're fighting right now. We know about it. It's tied to OnBase or it's tied to a bigger thing. We'll get back to you. It's expected to be done in X number of hours. So definitely being that first line of support. They know you know them, you know their business process. Back to the previous items, at a high level that business process and what impact that issue might actually be, and to them. Again, understand those processes to really help. And then the last one is look for changes. I mean, no one ever says anything ever changes, but sometimes it really does change. I don't have any magic wand there. I can't tell you how to figure that one out because it isn't. But try, to really get an understanding and look for things that, I think a perfect example was in upgrading from Office 2010 or Office 2007 to Office 2010, right? Everyone kind of knew it was coming, but if you're not kind of thinking, what's the impact to OnBase, right? You could be in for a big surprise when IT rolls out, Office 2013, and you've got all these users who use Office and OnBase, and all of a sudden things aren't working the way they thought. And although that wasn't really an OnBase, and I tell you what, the team who does Office probably wasn't thinking about OnBase when they put together the plan to roll out Office.
May not even know OnBase exists many times. So
known OnBase, it was just a different issue, but that's a separate item.
Yep. We're going to talk about that in a second, though.
So kind of look for not only the changes that happened last night, but those changes that the team's predicting, and think what impact might that be? These are all integrated, and if I'm updating my Exchange, I'm updating Outlook. Just you want to make sure that you're kind of on that radar, so you can kind of say, we should, as part of that test plan, we should test the parts that OnBase touches. It'll save you a ton of headache.
Yeah, another one, or if you get notifications, I don't know how they communicate necessarily, but you might hear there's something going, hey, we're doing server maintenance, or we're doing something. Those are the kinds of things you just want to keep your ears open to, because ultimately you may not control it, but certainly you've got the responsibility for the OnBase solution. You want to make sure that you're trying to stay up with what's happening in your world. And those are things, again, customer care, we'd love to help you with that, but those are things you got to be feet on the street. You guys are the ones that know it. So the things that we can do to help you is that we are your support. I mean, you're at first line helping the end user, making sure that they've get their questions, but we're there to back you up. So you get to the point where I've tried this, I've thought about that, I've looked at the logs, I've done these things. I got to get some other help. Call us. That's what we're there for. That's one of the primary reasons that we exist, is to support you and back you up. Also, one of the main things we can do for you is we're your advocate. We are acting on your behalf in working with other vendors. Highland in particular, if it's an OnBase issue or whatever, we're going to talk with them. We're going to go right to we have our own support team that is sort of like the next level up. And within there, we have priorities and abilities to get all the way and get access to technical people. So if it turns out to be something that's flat out, we've all agreed it's a bug, and we're the ones that are going to help get that added to the list of things to get fixed. And so let us be that for you. And not just Highland, but any of the other, some of the scanner products and some of the other software products you might have. We play that same role across there. And then really one of the things we've tasked the team with is that they should have a high level knowledge of your world. So we've got enough customers that are doing things in Michigan and FOC, and we know at a high level we want to be that. We want to be able to have that understanding, but we're never going to know it as good as you, so we're always going to be relying on you guys as the front line of defense. All right, participates in group work. So works closely with their OnBase solution partner. That would be us. James, what are some of the ways that they could work with us, and how can we work with them?
So, obviously the first one, schedule ahead. If you have customer care, we are there to support you with upgrades, things like that, 24/7 maintenance events. The more heads up you can give us, the more we're going to be able to put the appropriate team in place. So calling at 4:30 on a Friday to say I need a 2 a.m. upgrade, Saturday morning, we're going to get someone for you. But if we had a week's heads up, we could definitely put it in a team that might have been a little bit more responsive and probably ask you a couple questions. Well, what's really going to happen at 2 a.m. and are we sure we're prepared and what do we need to line up for you, and get a lot of those things kind of pre-done. So definitely reach out to us, give us that type of heads up. We're here for you, and the more heads up, I think the better it works for everyone. Again, back to kind of those system owners, if you're upgrading your OnBase system, or actually parts of your OnBase system, kind of notifying the business owners, hey, we're going to be upgrading, maybe it's a server, maybe it's something, there shouldn't be an impact, but just be aware, because they're probably going to be the first ones who hear it. Those business owners are going to find out from an end user who says, I can no longer print, or I can no longer do that. If they're aware of kind of those infrastructure changes that they might have an impact or shouldn't have an impact, but theoretically are touching servers that your OnBase system are on, they might be able to kind of say, you know what, I think these might be related, and get you more information to help you pinpoint that problem. So again, keeping kind of those business owners, ultimately your customers, up to date on things that are coming along will definitely help serve a while.
Yeah, and some of those things come up, jumping to the last one, so being a connection to our professional services team, so the folks that would create the new solutions or add enhancements to the solution you have. It's really important that you guys have access through, of course, in the heat of creating something, you're going to be working, there'll be probably a project manager that'll be coordinating and making sure that the project's moving forward. But we're always there in the middle as well. So if you've got things that are going on with your solution, and maybe it's something that's sort of a new kind of a thing, we can always go back to the people who helped create it in the first place, and we'll provide that connection where you wouldn't be able to just pick up the phone necessarily and call and talk to the developer that did something. We're able to do that for you, and we can sometimes kind of take the time down that it would take to try and get an answer to something really quickly. Acting as the backup support when your system administrator is unavailable. This is something that we do. It's not sort of a regularly, it's not the expectation that we have, as we've all talked about throughout here, is you guys really know the system. So we really need you to be that front end. But hey, if you're not there and you aren't able to do something, we can make arrangements with you that, hey, if somebody's going to call and you're not in the office or there's an emergency come up, let us know and we'll work with you on that to be able to provide that backup support. And then, like James said, pre-scheduling things is really, really a big help for us. I mean, we don't like to say no. We don't like to be able to say we can't do something and respond to you. But there's sometimes even if we get too short of a time frame, we may have already booked up 3 people. I mean, upgrades are going on pretty much every week. Every weekend we've got something scheduled. So we've got enough customers out there now that there's always something. So it wouldn't be because we don't want to, but it might be with just we've only got X number of resources and they're already booked up helping someone else. So please let us know as soon as you can about when you're planning on making a change or doing something. All right, last one, and we have 4 minutes.
My comment's short.
Okay. Resourceful and independent, always looking for new ways to improve and use OnBase. This is something that we have seen over the years that the really, really successful implementations is people are always out there trying to come up with sort of new ways to leverage their OnBase. So what does that look like from you, James?
As the system administrators and even as the business owners, you have an idea clearly of what the capabilities of the OnBase product are. So as you're within a department that has it and they're looking to do something different, or you're in other departments, being able to kind of say, hey, look, your needs, we had similar needs, and we were able to solve those or solve those within, kind of OnBase. So, leveraging that product to help improve, efficiencies of manual processes across, across the whole spectrum of your departments definitely helps. I mean, you've got this investment. You're trained on it. Let that company, let your agency leverage that, and really continue to increase the ROI of that investment that they put in that product and the team. Again, identifying other departments. You are the feet in the street. You really know other departments' pain points. We'll come and visit, and you'll talk to us every once in a while. But we're not in those daily meetings where someone goes, we really struggle with X or we struggle with Y. Being able to say, what, maybe this is a call. Maybe we should call out to ImageSoft and say, hey, could we work? Is there a solution within the OnBase framework that might help that department, get over that struggle or, live with reduced costs and reduced overhead, reduced individuals. And again, one of the things too that I always say is, mind your OnBase logs. Right? So you got your transaction logs. The administrators know, I can run reports and documents viewed. You can do kind of a PR thing. How many documents, you could, the little posters that they hang in the elevators and stairwells. How has OnBase helped you today, right? Help advertise. You can quickly go out and run a report against the department to go, how many HR documents have been viewed this month, right? And, how has OnBase helped you today? HR viewed 12,000 documents this month, right? That's 12,000 times they didn't get out of their desk and go to a filing cabinet. That's real money. So, publicize and kind of hype, just leveraging the data that's in your OnBase system already to look at how you can do. We did X thousands of workflow transactions last week in this department. Let people realize that, hey, this is more than just maybe a departmental solution that they go, oh, I wish I was an FOC because I could benefit from that, but HR is going, well, it's not for me. They don't realize that, hey, it can help all the departments. So whatever you can do to kind of publicize that and build that excitement.
Yeah, sometimes just trying to put yourselves in their shoes. I mean, a lot of people here, they were in that same situation, and then with the new solution, especially when you just get something going, if you're excited about it and you see the benefit and how it's helped you and your team, think about the other folks as well, because they're in the same boat. They would love to have some of that extra. And again, once you've made that initial core investment, adding on more users and adding on some different modules and stuff is not as expensive as that first thing. So you've already got it. You should really look for ways to leverage it. One of the ways that we can help on the customer care side as well is we're in there in the system with you occasionally. So when things are going on and we're trying to figure something out, we'll notice things. So sometimes we might see, wow, this is the way that you've got something set up. These guys see a lot of different systems, not just yours. So sometimes you get kind of a little, tunnel vision and looking at how you've done things. There's a great big world out there. Small plug for OTTC and TechWest because you can talk to other people. But these guys see it and they might be able to say, hey, I noticed while we were doing this is something, if you did that, it might be a little bit better. Or they might even talk about, hey, there's this new module that came out that does this so much easier than the way you did it before, not because we didn't want to, but we're working with the tools that are available, and sometimes even an implementation that was done 3 or 4 years ago. Since then, there's a new something that's come out that does that and combines 3 things into one or something. So we'll always be looking for those kinds of things and recommend those to you. And then lastly, one of the main things, so those of you that have support with us, my hope is that, and I think my understanding is most of you guys have the customer care. So there's a standard level of support that is provided that, you get new versions of the software and you break fix and help and things like that. But customer care on top of that, one of the main benefits is being able to call and ask these questions. We are here. If you guys just want to call and bounce an idea, hey, I was thinking about this, or I read that, or I was on the community site and I was looking into this, feel free to ask questions there, but you can also call us anytime and just be able to bounce ideas around and say, I'm thinking about building something. I think today we've probably accomplished that 3 or 4 times. I had James at lunchtime, somebody said, hey, I'd like to try and do this. We're here, and the support guys in customer care will do it. But the great thing is, I know his phone number and his extension, so if you guys need that extra level, we'll do it. And James, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for you. You'd be glad to go out and meet with people and sit down and schedule more than just a phone call. You'd come out and whiteboards and...
Exactly. I've gone on customer sites, so we pull a whiteboard for 4 hours and go, what departments, what are your challenges, right? What are the headaches that you see within departments that are in OnBase or other departments? What are low-hanging fruit, right? You all do workflow, but there's a huge ROI just in store and retrieve. right? Employee records, HR files, right? You can get a system like that up fairly quickly without complexities of workflow and just remove storage space, right? So there's a huge number of areas, and that's something that, we can go out, sketch something on a whiteboard, you take it away, you come up with an idea, bounce it back off of us, and you can run and go. And that's part of customer care.
The great part is he's not only smart, but he actually likes doing it. So please invite him out there to do it. All right, so that's the report card. That's how you get an A+ in OnBase. I do have a little bit of homework, so hopefully that's not too bad. That's usually what happens at the end of class. It's pretty easy, though. Things that we've already talked about. Join the Highland community. If you haven't done that already, please go out there and do that. It's easy to do, and again, blogs and access, and there's tons of information out there. It is sort of Highland, what they try to do is take all that great benefit of the conferences and things like that and bring that into an online community. So you'll meet people that way. You'll be able to ask questions and do things. Highly recommend it. The Highland training site, we've already harped on that a couple times, but it is the place to go. As Bill Premer mentioned this morning, not only are there training classes you can schedule for, and some of them you would actually go to Highland for. Some of them, they've got some great ones where you're sort of virtually in the class. Some people are actually there and you're kind of over the shoulder. You're watching the exact same training that you would have gone, and you get to stay at home in your jammies or not have to pay the hotel room at least. In addition, though, they've captured a lot of those so you can watch them at your own pace. There's just a lot of really good information out there, so please leverage that to your benefit. And then, of course, contacting ImageSoft Customer Care. So we can help you with getting this beautiful system admin MRG. If we haven't told you enough times about that, we can get you the troubleshooting toolbox. Ask us about the admin welcome kit. Main message out of this, call us. It doesn't always have to be because you're having a problem or something's broke. We'd love to talk with you. And how you do that? We are available in customer care 8 to 6 your time zone. So if you're California, that means till 9 o'clock at night our time. The phone number, our main number, the 248-948-8100, option 2 gets you right through. You can also email us, and you can also access through the web portal. Tom, what's the very best way to get a hold of us, though, if you have an immediate...
Call us.
Yeah.
So by far, if there's a critical issue, don't just send it in an email, just give us a call.
Yeah, we check the emails regular throughout the day, and we'll respond, but we've got a great staff, and the system will route you through to the next available person. So if it's something really important, think first picking up the phone. That would be the great way. All right, that's all we have.